Today on Time About the Movies, Katherine Heigl and Josh Duhamel come off of some pretty bad movies in 2010 and make a movie that's not quite as bad, but not great either. Life as We Know It. We also have, I can't remember the other names. We also have Diane Lane starring in the movie version of the story of Secretariat, which became popular not because of the movie, but because of another specific event we'll talk about with this film. But also we have Wes Craven in his first 3D film, My Soul to Take, which, yeah, sounds promising until you actually see the movie. We also have Zach Galifianakis taking on a dramatic role in It's Kind of a Funny Story. And we have Robert De Niro, Edward Norton, and Mila Jovovich starring in the drama Stone. And we also have the remake of I Spit on Your Grave. So 6 films to take a look at today as we look at October 8th, 2010 on Time About the Movies.
You're both single, living under the same roof, raising a recently orphaned child. You're not sleeping together.
Go. We will not be complicating anything with that.
Yeah.
We need to figure out a schedule.
That's my night off.
Some chick says, "Oh, mister, you can forget the condom," and I say no, and I still end up with the kid.
Protective services. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
They're all made of rubber. It's fine.
Oh, it's like Slumdog Millionaire in there.
What? Sweetie, you have poo on your face.
Life as We Know It, rated PG-13, October 8th.
Sadly, no, we are not looking at the 2004 short-lived ABC show that was a really good show that was canceled not even a full season into its run. But, did you ever see the show My So-Called Life? Because you definitely would like Life as We Know It, the TV series, if you like My So-Called Life. Sadly, we're not talking about that, though, as I welcome you to another episode of Time About the Movies. We're taking a look at the 6 films released on October 8th, 2010, and, of course, the biggest new release of them all, Katherine Heigl and Josh Duhamel in Life as We Know It, as they star as 2 single adults who must settle their differences in order to take care of their goddaughter after her parents are killed in a car crash. On paper, this really doesn't seem like a bad idea in general, and yeah, to Katherine Heigl and Josh Duhamel's credit, they're perfectly fine in here. They're actually doing stuff in this movie that is unlike in their bad movies they had done before, especially Katherine Heigl, but sadly, the script is a disastrous mess that can't decide if it wants to be a coming-of-age drama or does it want to be is a comedy on the veins of something like a Judd Apatow movie, and just tries to do both and just fails miserably. I mean, you see it in the trailer with the lazy jokes. The lazy poop jokes, the lazy baby jokes, the fact that these two clearly have nothing in common, but surely they're going to get together at the end. It's just like, that's where the movie really does fall apart. And it really is a shame because the pieces were there for something really good, and it just can't deliver on that because it doesn't know if it wants to be something outside of these two's norm, or does it want to be something completely in their norm. And because of that, the film just falls apart altogether. I mean, it's a film that just takes whatever good potential it had to it and whatever good performances were holding it and just completely loses you when you have a lackluster script that really has no idea which direction it wants to go. It wastes so much good talent in here. It's a bad movie. It's a really, really bad film, unfortunately. It's better than Killers. It's better than One in Rome, but then again, that's like saying, you know, the poop I took this morning was much better than the one I took a couple days ago when I literally couldn't get it out of my stomach. I mean, yeah, it's not that much of a difference. I mean, yeah, it's still something where it's like it's not gonna be any. It's better, but it's not better. It's not as but that's saying like, you know, it's better than what I had to deal with before. And I think you get the metaphor I'm talking about here. Life as We Know It. Like I said, stick with the ABC show of the same name. So let's try to turn the tide around with our next movie that we have here, and that's Diane Lane starring in Secretariat from Disney.
Have you ever seen it?
He's got fire inside him. Which of you ladies owns Secretary?
His name is Secretariat.
All right, then. Let's show him what you're made of. What do you think?
He eats too much. He lays against the back of that starting gate like he's in a hammock in the Caribbean.
We need to conjure up $6 million.
I'll find a way.
Horse racing is unforgiving for housewives.
It's like every other multi-million-dollar gamble we housewives make every day.
You're guaranteeing that this horse is going to win the Triple Crown. 3 races in 5 weeks. Hasn't been done in 25 years.
That is exactly what I'm saying.
You're that stubborn.
I'm that right. This is about life being ahead of you, and you run at it.
You're about to see something that you've never seen before.
Secretariat, rated PG.
Ah, see, we're also getting our discount Samuel L. Jackson in this movie, because, yeah, that dude literally sounds like Samuel L. Jackson, but they probably wanted him. Samuel L. Jackson looked at us and said, "You're out your goddamn mind, I'm not starring in this." But they took the next best thing, and I don't know why, but when I watched this movie and I watched the trailers for this, it literally does feel like Diane Lane wants to seriously fuck this horse. I mean, that's like some weird horse fetish, because it's just like, you see the poster, and it's just like, it looks heartfelt and all that, but then you watch her in the movie, it's just like, she is getting way too attached to this horse, and it's just kind of like, I should be concerned about some bestiality here in a Disney film nonetheless, but that's just my sick, twisted mind right there. The movie itself actually isn't all that bad. This is, of course, the story of the thoroughbred racehorse Secretariat, who won the Triple Crown in 1973, and you have Diane Lane playing her owner, Penny Chenery, who takes over the docile Virginia stables of her ailing father, Christopher Chenery, despite her lack of horse racing knowledge. With the help of a veteran trainer played by John Malkovich, she navigates the male-dominated business, ultimately fostering the first Triple Crown winner in 25 years, widely considered the greatest racehorse of all time. And I got a good team behind it. Randall Wallace, the guy who wrote Braveheart, won the Oscar for writing a screenplay for that. As a director, he hasn't been that great overall, but this is probably his best overall film as a director. It's not a bad movie, but it's your typical Disney sports drama. I mean, it's a movie on the same levels as something like Miracle and Glory Road, Invincible, The Rookie. And those have been good movies in general, but you could definitely tell the formula was starting to get a little bit old with this one here. And yeah, it's fine. It's nothing amazing in general, but it's a film that really doesn't have a whole lot there to make it really stand out on its own or anything like that. Diane Lane, I think, is perfectly fine in here is playing the character here. John Malkovich was pretty good. Dylan Walsh, James Cromwell, Kevin Connolly, Scott Glenn. A script by Sheldon Turner, who also wrote a lot of Adam Sandler movies. This isn't a bad movie, but not a great film either. Plus, it really kind of stings the movie when you think of Secretariat, you don't think of the movie about his life. You think of this.
Who's under the door?
Yeah, that came because of this movie, and that became more memorable than the movie itself. I mean, that horse was there from there to the beginning to the end of the Craig Ferguson run on the Late Late Show. I mean, that should tell you everything you need to know about how much the longevity is. When people remember the dancing horse that just comes out whenever you hit a doorbell underneath the desk, and it's just like, who's that at the door? And then you start going around like doing this and all that. And hey, you can see why that worked a whole lot better than the movie itself. But like I said, the film isn't terrible, but when you compare that to what we know it more popularly for with the Craig Ferguson segment, the Craig Ferguson segment's going to win, no question about it. So that's Secretariat for you. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie. It's Wes Craven's first 3D film, and that is My Soul to Take.
It's best not to think about your nightmares.
It wasn't a nightmare. If something dead was evil enough, could it come back to life?
Come on, wherever you
Whoever, whatever you are, go back to hell where you came from.
are. My Soul to Take in 3D.
Wow, Nightmare on Elm Street much? Oh, and here's the kicker about this. This thing was actually shot in 2D, and then the post-production converted it to 3D. So you know what that means. It's the return of our good friend post-production 3D hell. Yeah, it's that type of a film. It's the first time that Wes Craven has produced, written, and directed a movie since Wes Craven's New Nightmare back in 1994, and it stars Max Theroux as Adam Bug Helliman, who is one of 7 teenagers chosen to die following the anniversary of a serial killer's death. Denzel Whitaker, Raul Esparza, and Sharika Epps also star. The film title comes from a line in the prayer, "Now I lay me down to sleep," which reads, "If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take." Craven previously used the prayer as the mantra for Nancy Thompson in A Nightmare on Elm Street. So yeah, as I said, it's literally a retread of A Nightmare on Elm Street. And for this to be one of Wes Craven's last movies before his death in 2015, this is pathetic, man. This is literally a retread of A Nightmare on Elm Street for a new generation. It's like Wes Craven saw what they were doing with the remake earlier that year, and said, well, if you're going to remake my movie, I'm going to go ahead and make a new one just like it, with blackjack and hookers. And you know what? Forget the movie. And Futurama reference for you, but yeah, this thing is terrible, and the 3D is god-awful. This is one of those movies where you clearly see what they're going to do here. And by the way, here's another reason why you should not sit through this movie. This thing was shot back in 2008, so this has been sitting on a shelf for 2 years. So yeah, I think that's pretty much everything you need to know about getting away from this movie in general. But hey, you know what? Wes Craven had a double stretch of films in 2005. He had a bad movie to start the year off with Cursed, and then he followed it up with a great movie in Red Eye. So does he turn the tide with his next film, Scream 4? We'll get to that when we get to the start of next year. But yeah, you can avoid My Soul to Take like the plague. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie. Zach Galifianakis is tackling a much different role than we're used to seeing him in. It's Kind of a Funny Story. That's literally the title.
Why are you in the ER? There's a lot going on in my mind. You should be okay with bird dog and chicks. Are you a doctor?
Critics are raving about It's Kind of a Funny Story. Zach Galifianakis' performance is a revelation.
I'm sorry. I didn't have it weird off.
It's exuberant, an instant classic. Zach Galifianakis will blow you away.
You're sweet to say that.
It's Kind of a Funny Story.
Ping pong? Most people choose off down on their meds to compete. When's up?
Rated PG-13.
And of course, nobody went to go see it because it wasn't Zach Galifianakis being an obnoxious asshole. Just like what happened when Will Ferrell and Jack Black starred in movies outside of their norms and all that. And Adam Sandler's another case as well. But in the story, you have Keir Gilchrist playing Craig, a high school junior in the gifted program, infatuated with his best friend's girl. When he realizes he's suicidal, he checks himself into the psychiatric ward of a hospital, thinking they'll do an observation to help him and send him home in time for school the next day. Once in, he finds out he must stay for a week. The juvenile ward is being renovated, so he's in with adults as well as a few youths. Bobby, a man with a young daughter, shows him around. Craig notices Noel about his age. He tries to keep his friends from finding out where he is. He goes to therapy, sings, helps Bobby rehearse an interview. Is this the stuff of insight? And Bobby's played by Zach Galifianakis. Noel's played by Emma Roberts. You have a cast that also includes Viola Davis, Lauren Graham, Jim Gaffigan, Zoe Kravitz, Adrian Martinez, Mary Birdsong, Thomas Mann, Morgan Murphy, Asif Manvi, and this is directed by the people who would give us Captain Marvel at the end of the decade. So these are competent directors overall. These are the same people that did Half Nelson and also Sugar. And again, it's a movie where you see Zach Galifianakis kind of playing the similar role that he's in the Hangover films, but not to the point where he's incredibly obnoxious and annoying, but he does just enough to make the film so much more enjoyable than it has any right to be. This is a film that does work because the performances in it are so strong. The performances are very good, and it does have that nice mix of comedy and dramatic elements that really do give it that edge and make it something that is so worth it in the end. It's not as good as something like A Stranger Than Fiction or A Punch Drunk Love, but it definitely shows a lighter side of Zach Galifianakis, and I think people would admire a whole lot more. And trust me, when we get to his next movie in November with Due Date, you're going to be wishing that you get this kind of a Zach Galifianakis performance again instead of what he does in that movie, because, that one is a mess. So, not much more to say about that one. It's Kind of a Funny Story. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie. Robert De Niro, Edward Norton, and Mila Jovovich in Stone.
Out of here, you go through me.
Critics rave. Stone is a psychological tour de force.
It was him in person. We're starting this fight. Can I persuade you?
De Niro and Norton's performances are dead on.
See both economy.
It's a game.
Stone in theaters October 15th.
Ladies and gentlemen, the last film Overture Films went out with, and It had its intentions, but it's not worth it in the end. Robert De Niro plays parole officer Jack Mabry, who only has a few weeks left before retirement and wishes to finish out the cases he had been assigned. One such case is that of Gerald Stone Creason, played by Edward Norton, who's a convicted arsonist who's up for parole. Jack is initially reluctant to indulge Stone in the coarse banter he wishes to pursue and feels little sympathy for the prisoner's pleas for an early release. Seeing little hope in convincing Jack by himself, Stone arranges for his wife Lucetta, played by Mila Jovovich, to seduce the officer, but motivates an intention steadily blur amidst the passions and buried secrets of the corrupt players in this deadly game of deception. So, in a way, the film itself isn't terrible, but it's just nothing that memorable per se. I think Robert De Niro and Edward Norton really do carry the load of this film. They are playing roles that are very much against type. This isn't Edward Norton playing a similar role that he is in Primal Fear. He's playing a much different role in general here, and De Niro's doing the best he can with this. And even, I've criticized Mila Jovovich ever since the first Resident Evil movie, because I'm sorry, I don't think she's that good of an actress, and I'm just expecting not much in this movie, but to her credit, she's not bad in here. I mean, this is probably her overall best performance since The Fifth Element. I mean, this is a film where she's really given something to do, and it isn't just playing a stock, bland action heroine that's fucking the director here. But yeah, it's a film that does have times where it could be something really good, but it kind of falls into the heavy-handed, pretentious territory that a film like this could easily fall itself into here, and it just didn't work in general, and it's a shame because you could see the potential definitely there with this, but it just wasn't there in the final product itself. So yeah, not the best film for Overture films to go out on. I mean, it's not bad, but it's definitely a film that could have been so much better than it actually was. But yeah, very mixed opinion on that one. So let's go ahead and move on to our last movie that we have here, the remake of I Spit on Your Grave.
What's a pretty little thing like you doing out here all alone?
Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. It's date night.
Typical white people, they never learn. On both sides of this equation here, but this is of course a remake of the quintessential slasher classic of the 1970s, the one that every critic out there was ready to just pounce on because of what it was. And of course, Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert were there at the forefront of that, saying it is as one of their dogs of the week, which was one of the things they had back when they were doing public access in Chicago. But in the story, you have the writer Jennifer Hills, who rents an isolated lakeside cabin in the woods of the peaceful Mockingbird Trail for 2 months to write a novel. 2 days later, she is brutally gang raped by 3 local bigots, the sheriff and a handyman, and Jennifer returns later to get revenge against the rapist. It literally says here on the IMDb, Jennifer returns later to revenge against the rapist. If you don't believe, yeah, look at that. There it is right there. So that's not me saying it. It's a Claudio Carvalho from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. But anyway, I've never seen either one of these. I mean, I've never really had that need to see I Spit on Your Grave, because really, it is what it is. I feel like it's a film where if you're gonna watch it, you're gonna watch it because you saw the original film. But even then, the original film knew that it was coming in a time that was primed with a lot of these exploitation horror movies, but trying to remake this for a new generation, I get it. They were trying to do what they did with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but Texas Chainsaw Massacre still holds up because there's at least somewhat of an edge to it that can work in a modern setting, and that was something that Michael Bay and Marcus Nispel did when they made that first movie in 2003. But with this, even I can look at the trailer for this and see that this really does not look like it's the same movie as the original film. This just looks like a bland, stock horror remake or not even a horror remake, a horror film that just nabs the title, I Spit on Your Grave. This plot could be used with any other horror movie, but because it's connected to I Spit on Your Grave, that's enough for people to go and see it. And sure enough, it becomes successful enough to find just the same cult following as the original film did, and even spawned a series of sequels that came after this. But I've never seen these movies, so I can't really say if anything I say is completely different from what the actual movie is. I sincerely doubt it, but I Spit on Your Grave. If you like these, you're probably going to enjoy it, but for newcomers like me, I've never really had any intentions of watching this, and probably will not watch this, so there you go. That's I Spit on Your Grave for you. And thus, with all that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies, and the next time we meet, we take a look at 4 more new movies, including Jackass 3D, the Jackass gang doing their stunts, this time in 3D. Okay, I'll stop doing that now. And then we have the star-studded Red with Bruce Willis, John Malkovich, Morgan Freeman, Mary Louise Parker, and Helen Mirren among the cast. We also have Hereafter, Clint Eastwood's latest film, and we also have Conviction. So we'll take a look at those 4 movies coming up on the show. That'll be tomorrow on this show, so... With all that said, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button so you get updates on when new videos come out. And we post new videos here every day. And also hit that playlist, as well as check out the last episode I did. So, with all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.